Okay, kids, so if you're all caught up from last time, you should have your name written a whole bunch of times in white crayon, and then your name written a whole bunch of times in colored crayon, filling the whole paper. Okay? And today, we're going to kind of do our experiment with the properties of the three different types of matter that we're messing with. The first one is the paper itself. The second one is the waxy crayon. And the third one is the watercolor paint. So you are going to need these two pieces of paper. You're going to need a gray paper. If you don't have one, please get one. Okay. You're going to need a set of watercolor paints. You're going to need a little bowl. You're going to need a bottle of water. You're going to need a brush. And you're going to need a couple paper towels. So, move these down a little bit so you all can see the paint. Get yourself about a half a bowl full of water. Try not to spill it, please. Put that aside. And we are going to start with working with our one that we used white crayon on. Okay? So you're going to want to use about 3 brushes full of water for the colors that you choose. Okay? And you can choose any colors you want. But to get them started, you want 3 brushes full of water into the paint. Okay? And you can do that for all your colors if you want to start getting them ready to go. But we do want them somewhat watery. So it's good to do this while you have some clean water. Okay, you don't have to use all the colors, that's up to you. Now, once you've got some water into your paints, you're going to pick your first color. So I think for me, I'm going to pick yellow. And I don't want to run the brush in here for too long because it'll soften up the paint too much. We want the paint to be watery. So the idea here is to experiment with how water reacts with the paper and the crayon. You can see as I start to work that the paper will accept the watercolor paint anywhere where I didn't put the crayon. But where there's a crayon mark, it resists the watercolor paint. Okay? So the different properties of the matter do not get along with each other. A little bit of science mixed with your art today. Now, I would prefer if you try not to do stripes or anything. Just pick your colors and kind of work around the paper any way you want. Making sure that you have plenty of water in your paint. Okay? Because if you make the paint too thick, then it will actually cover up the crayon because there's not enough water in the paint to resist it. And again, I'm just kind of picking my colors and working around the paper. You can mix colors together like this. Just remember that if you mix a warm color and a cool color, it'll end up probably looking brown. All right? And yes, you may use black and or brown. That's up to you. Okay? Black tends to overpower a lot of things, so you got to be careful with it. And because this piece is more about doing the experiment, it kind of turns into a piece of abstract art, which is art that doesn't necessarily look like a person, a place, a thing, okay, or a photograph of something. Okay, it's not realistic. It's more about exploring the properties of the materials that we're using. Okay, so again, be careful how much paint you add to this. You do not want to cover anything up. If you use too much paint, you can always blot this, which is where you take a paper towel and you soak up a bit of the paint. You got to be careful with this step, okay? You don't want to leave marks from the paper towel everywhere. All right. So I'm pretty happy with the way that one looks. I'm going to move that aside, trying not to drip any paint onto my clothes or on the table or anything like that. And I'm going to move to my second one. And it is the same process. Now you can see my water is kind of yucky. You can dump your dirty water into the big bowl at your table and get some fresh stuff. Voila. Okay. And again, you are choosing whatever colors you want to use for this one. And you can see that the colors react and change with the watercolor paint. So I might just want to stick with my purple and blue for this one because I'm kind of liking the way it looks. You guys, it's really up to you. Notice I keep using plenty of water. Okay. It's kind of important. Okay, so this one has been covered, and I think that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm finished with the watercolor paints. I'm going to leave these open, but I'm going to very, very carefully put them aside and out of my way so they can dry. Again, we are leaving them open. We're going to ditch our dirty water. Okay, and you want to put this aside, and you want to put your brush with your paint as well, so that it looks like that little setup right there. Okay? Then you're going to take these, and you're just going to slide them out of your way. They need about 10 to 15 minutes to dry. So that's 10 to 15 minutes that you can have on your computer or a coloring page. Okay? And then once they are dry, we'll get into the next step of it.